Writing section, write essay, guided practice. Let's begin. Question number 1. Pause for 20 minutes, pause the video, write your essay and come back. Let's look at the sample response now. The first step is to understand the prompt. Do you think formal written examinations in school are a good way to assess knowledge of students? Support your point of view with suitable arguments. Your point of view can be that yes, they are a good way to assess knowledge, or they are not a good way to assess knowledge. So once you understand this is what you have to do, then next is you define what your stand on the topic is. In this case, the writer of the essay, she's written it in a very interesting manner. In my opinion, this proposition merits serious consideration. So what proposition? So her stand, she has actually put forward in terms of what other academics think. If you read the introduction, it says the role of conventional written tests, that is the formal written examinations, engaging a student's capability is widely debated. Means there's a debate on that, which is actually the question in the prompt, with many academics claiming that these tests are flawed and can hardly measure one's performance accurately and comprehensively. And she says that many academics, many people think that these tests are flawed, that they are not good enough. So it's not a good way to assess the knowledge. And then, in my opinion, this proposition merits serious consideration. You could have also written this in a simpler manner. That, for example, an introduction like conventional written exams have been in used for several decades, but now there is a debate whether they are a good way to assess the student knowledge. In my opinion, there are several drawbacks with formal written examinations, and in this essay, I'll elaborate that, explain that with the help of arguments. Okay. Then you come up with 2 or 3 points. So in this case, the writer thinks they are not a good way. So she has come up with points like that people, they do not try to learn in depth. They just try to learn to pass an exam. So even mediocre students can do well. And because of the nature of the exams, the students, they do not fall in love with the subject. They don't learn for the sake of learning or for the love of learning, but it's just to clear an exam. And then they say that the exams are repeated, the questions are repeated. So students, they can just get some past sample papers and they can still clear the exam. And that nowhere tells whether the student really understands the subject or not. So you see, there are different points. Once you have the points, then you first write your 4 paragraph structure and a bit of what each paragraph you're going to write about. In each paragraph, you just write that, and then you go back and expand on it. So the next 15 minutes or so, you'll expand. And in the last 3 minutes, in the last 2 to 3 minutes, you go back and you review. If there are any spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, correct them. If you have made any logical mistake, which, for example, if you've written something which goes against the stand that you had taken and you notice it, you correct it. Make sure that the language that you have used is formal and academic in nature. If you see that you're using a slang somewhere or some casual language, you can correct that. If you feel you need to make up the word limit, you need to write more, then come up with some imaginary examples and use them to meet the word limit. All right. Once done, you must submit. And I mention this often that you should explicitly submit the essay that you have written. Do not think that when the 20 minutes get over, it will automatically be submitted. No, before 20 minutes run out, so maybe at 19 minutes, 58 seconds, you should submit. But you must submit explicitly before you run out of time. Now, let's go to the next question. Again, pause for 20 minutes and then come back. Here's a sample response. Let's first try to understand the prompt. Is travel a necessary component of education or not? Can a scholar sitting at home have more knowledge than one who travels? Support your answer with suitable arguments. So 2 parts. First, do you think that travel is essential to education? Okay, that can somebody have complete education without travel? And second, is it possible that somebody who just sits at home can have more knowledge compared to somebody who travels? What is your stand on this topic? In this case, I think the writer of this sample essay says that I believe that travel can have several positive educational influences provided adequate care is taken to design the travel experience. So means that overall, he thinks that it's Good. It will have more benefits for the scholar, result in more knowledge, in a better education. But there are things to be taken care of. Means it's not 100% that just go ahead, everything is okay. So I would say this is still kind of a middle of the road response, and that is good. You should also do that. Also note how the writer has begun the paragraphs. So the second paragraph where she makes the arguments starts with at the outset or to begin with. So always do that. And I would acknowledge that nothing broadens the mind more than exposure to outside world. So she talks about all the advantages. And then also in the next paragraph talks about the advantages. And then in the paragraph after that, on the other hand, so now goes on to the other side and acknowledges that there can also be some disadvantages. So some care has to be taken. It has to be balanced properly. Another thing that you will note here is that the writer, she has used 5 paragraphs instead of the 4 paragraphs. That is fine. The second and the third paragraph, they could have been combined into one paragraph because they're both about advantages. And that is what we recommend, that you keep it simple, keep it 4 paragraphs. But if you think your essay, the way the ideas come to you for that particular topic, you think there's a clearer separation between the arguments, so makes sense to have something in its own paragraph, then that is also fine. However, make sure that when you put something in its own paragraph, then it is actually a paragraph. If it's just another sentence, then combine it with the previous paragraph or with the next paragraph, wherever most suitable. In this case, the third paragraph is small, but it's still 2 sentences. So technically still a paragraph. But if it were just one single sentence, then would have been better to combine it with the previous paragraph. Okay, once you do that, then in the end, as always, review it. And if you're happy with it, go ahead and submit. We are now at the end of this session. Once again, my message for you, do a lot of practice, use the test software, do all the questions. And in writing, of course, you will learn by writing, but you also learn how to write by studying what others have written. So examine the sample responses carefully. These responses that we've included, they are supposed to get full marks. They have been written to that standard. So when you look at and when you try to understand these sample responses, is the best guidance that you can get.